My husband Dave and I recently spent some time exploring Andalusia, a part of southern Spain brimming with history, culture, tradition and beauty. We experienced Seville's famous feria and visited two UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the Cathedral and the Alcazar.
We also went to Cadiz during Carnival. Then I did a solo road trip, which I'm going to tell you and Katie all about during this series. Every Friday there's a new morning calm experience for you to immerse yourself in. So please follow us, read our blog and enjoy this week's experience. Welcome back to Seville. Today we're going to be discussing bullfighting in Spain. So the history, the spectacle and the controversy.
Yeah, I didn't go to the fight when we were in Seville. I decided to sit in a plaza and drink a glass of wine instead. So I'm a little bit unsure how I feel about bullfighting at the moment.
So yeah, there is going to be a lot of violence in this video and the death of animals as well. So this is a warning. This is not for children and yeah, this is quite violent. So there's your warning. So I thought I'd start by discussing the history of bullfighting. It's actually pre-Roman, prehistoric, some people suspect.
Wow.
And it extended throughout the Mediterranean coast. Bulls and bullfighting really go back as far as human civilization, actually.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and it's actually always had controversy surrounding it as well. The Romans tried to abolish it. It was apparently too risky for the youth and it was like a false deity worship.
Oh.
During the Moorish times, they thought it was a pagan ritual as well. But this is kind of when it started to become entangled with politics because it was kind of the Christians used it as a mark of identity and resistance against their Moorish oppressors. And the nobles kind of were part of it for prestige. That was back when they were always on horseback doing the bullfighting.
Oh, they used to do it on horseback?
Yeah, it used to be on horseback, yeah. And there's
wow.
parts of this which are on horseback as well, as you'll find out shortly.
Oh, right.
Then in the 16th century, the Pope actually banned bullfighting completely. And anyone that watched, sponsored or participated in the practice would be excommunicated.
Blimey.
Yeah, so that's kind of a big deal. And still, to this day, if any priests turn up, they'll be excommunicated as well. And any bullfighters that are Catholic. So Costillares is kind of the father of modern spectator bullfighting. He died in 1800 to give you some kind of, relevance to the year. So he kind of invented the clothing, which is the suit of light, traje de luces, and kind of all these cape maneuvers that you'll see and agility over physical confrontation with the bulls.
Okay, so the kind of the costume has a special significance and a particular name. I didn't know that. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of history and a lot of ritual associated with this. Now we get to the modern corrida de toros, which is the run of the bulls, and there's three parts or thirds called tercios. So the first third is the third of lances. This is when a matador looks at how a bull charges and assesses that if they have any vision problems or any kind of unusual movements, just to kind of get a sense of the bull's movements, yeah.
Size it up, get a feel for it.
Yeah, totally, because it's obviously very dangerous, yeah. At this point, two picadores, which are lancers on horseback, picadores just means lancers in Spanish, kind of entice an attack on the padded horse that they've come riding in on. So, as you can see, the bull charges the horse.
And the horse is protected?
Yeah, the horses are protected. Actually, that was only mandatory since the 1930s. Previously, there was a lot of dead horses involved in this sport as well. At this point, the lancer stabs the muscle of the bull and weakens it, and this is kind of to test how brave the bull is. They also weaken the bull because the bull is trying to lift the horse, which obviously uses a lot of energy from the bull's perspective.
So as well as sizing it up at this moment, they're also trying to tire it out a little bit so they stand a bit more of a chance against it, I suppose.
I saw 6 bulls during the event in Seville, and one of the bulls that was selected did not pass this first stage and was actually kind of booed out of the stadium. So the bull did survive because it was already injured. It had an injured foot. So it was allowed to leave and a replacement ball was brought in instead. And this is kind of how they got it out. In the second third, tercio de banderillas. I think I just about got that right, Katie. It's banderillas is a barbed stick. So this is where the matador tries to plant 2 barbed sticks into kind of the back of the ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can actually hear me making that noise in the video. So yeah, at this point the matador performs these cape movements and it's very artistic. And again, the ball is weakened, of course, during this process.
So the specific cape movements have a relevance and a style, and I assume there are names associated with these different parts as well.
Exactly, they all have names, there's all styles, you get kind of flair points, it's artistic in many ways. So the third section is the tercio de muerte.
I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's the part of death. So the matador now enters the arena alone, and he has a small red cape. And the redness of the cape is actually irrelevant because the bulls are colourblind. Apparently it's only red because it hides the blood.
Really?
Yeah, so he has a small red cape and a sword. Now at this point he does a series of passes, and this really is like a dance with this kind of huge injured animal, granted. As it continues, he does these final kind of passes, and then he tries to do the stabbing, which is he aims for the heart or the aorta with the sword that he's holding. It's pretty brutal, and sometimes follow-up blows are required as well.
But the aim is to kill it in one foul swoop at this point.
The aim is to kill it in one swoop. When the matador enters for this final stage, a 15-minute kind of timer started, so at this point that is how long the bull has left to live. Now, there is one exception, because the bulls can survive if they impress the crowd and also the president of the arena. So no bull will ever be reused. If it does survive, it will live out its life in the fields, because apparently they can learn from experience, so you never want a bull to enter the arena twice. Yeah, I heard they'd never seen humans, but they roam about in fenced woodland areas with kind of pastures, and it seems like quite a nice life up to the point of when they're brought into the bull ring, actually.
Okay, well, I didn't realise that, so I suppose that's not the worst way to start, although I am not convinced that this isn't just pure torture of an animal.
Well, matadors have died as well, and there's even special types of surgeons in Spain that specialise in dealing with wounds from a bull's horn. That's how prevalent this is. Yeah, it's estimated around 10% of people in Spain have gone to bullfights every year. Katie, you've got your reservations about this, and I can't blame you for that. It's definitely seemingly quite cruel and barbarous. Blood sport, really, is how it's been described.
Yeah, I would concur. That's how I feel.
However, and I'm going to put across kind of the positive arguments towards bullfighting.
Okay,
a typical fighting bull will live to be 4 to 6 years old. Meanwhile, a meat cow is 1 to 2 years old.
And during those years of life, you've already explained that the bull has quite a nice time wandering around the forests and paddocks. So I suppose it's
a very nice life. It's much nicer than a cow in industrial farming situations, for sure. And in fact, some people say that the slaughterhouse deaths for meat cows are much worse than some of these kind of bullfights.
Okay, that's something to consider for sure.
Another thing to consider is that the bulls used different species, and these species actually would have gone extinct if it wasn't for bullfighting and the fact that we breeded them for this purpose. So there's kind of a preservation aspect to this as well.
Okay, yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. Yeah, okay. There's
an argument as well over how much pain the bulls really feel, because with the adrenaline of being out there, it doesn't. I don't really buy this argument, because watching it felt like the bulls were in a lot of pain. So I'm not really on board with this argument. But apparently they don't feel as much pain as they can in a slaughterhouse, and the death itself should be as quick as possible. And it is a bad thing to have an extended death of the bull. As I saw, the crowd do not like it. So it's not like they want the bull to be tortured. They want the death to be quick.
Okay, but we're talking here about the death in the final third. The pokes and stabs and prods in the first 2/3, although it wasn't to kill it, it still would have caused it pain. That is still, in my opinion, part of the torturous element of it.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sport. It's definitely not a pretty sport. So yeah, there's a lot of animal rights kind of activists, obviously, that in Spain that really want to ban the practice. And it's also practiced in other countries as well, countries in South America, and in parts of the south of France as well. So it's not just Spain that has this sport. A matador was killed a few years ago actually, and a lot of the animal rights protesters were very happy about this and kind of posted joyful things on social media, which kind of caused a backlash against them and kind of them wanting to ban it, because obviously it's very nasty sending messages to the family of a matador, like, despite what you think about the practice. My personal feelings are this: if you get in kind of a bull fight, if you're in this kind of arena as a matador, you know, you're putting yourself at risk here. And you know, I love my blood sports. I love UFC, for example.
Okay, we're talking human blood sports here, just to be clear.
Yeah, I like kind of mixed martial arts fighting and cage fighting. So, you know, you put yourself in these risky situations, you've got to sometimes expect a bit of danger.
Yes, and I accept that on the part of the matador. I think the general issue here is that the bull is not choosing to put itself in there, and the bull almost always dies.
Yeah, the bulls will almost certainly die. Yeah, that's true. So to wrap up this video, I don't really have a strong opinion in any way about bullfighting. I think Katie's opinion's a bit stronger from her perspective, but generally we're not kind of promoting it.
And also I wouldn't go as far as to say that I'm completely opposed. I understand it's a very relevant cultural aspect of this country, and I think it's for each individual to make up their own mind about how they feel about it. I'm not going to get involved in a larger debate right now. This was purely an educational and informational video that we thought people would be interested to watch and to learn about and to see in 360, something that maybe they wouldn't feel comfortable going to in person.
So thanks for watching. Come back next time for a much cheerier video.
Yeah, there'll be no death, no torture, no nothing. It'll be all fun and games next week.
We're going to the Feria.
Seville's biggest and most important festival of the year.
Ciao.
See you later. Are you looking for a new challenge or a new way to use your headset? Why not start learning Spanish in a virtual environment? With excellent instruction from the talented teacher Jen, we'll get you speaking Spanish in no time. You'll use your new language skills out and about with virtual amigos from around the world. Our 3-hour virtual reality course is supported by additional learning materials in the real world. And this is all available free at morningcalmproductions.com/dynamic.